Hello, it's Novel Queen here to discuss with you advice on what to include and what to avoid in your lessons in Dr. Martin Luther King. This past summer, my son and I visited the Martin Luther King National Historic Park in Atlanta. I've studied this history for about 25 years, so it was a profound moment for me, and I was happy to be able to share this history with my son since it holds a special place in my heart. During this visit, I was able to set foot inside of Ebenezer Baptist Church, the epicenter of one of the most inspirational chapters in American history. My son took a picture of me within the church, and I was as white as a ghost. I was in such awe that I couldn't even speak. I was just taking it all in, processing the fact that I was standing in the place where Dr. Martin Luther King, the courageous leader and trailblazer in the quest for tolerance and unity, once stood to deliver some of the most profound and eloquent speeches our country would ever hear. All students deserve the opportunity to learn about Dr. Martin Luther King and reflect upon the values he upheld and the grit and persistence he demonstrated in his quest for tolerance and unity. Teaching such lessons will provide a win-win situation, as these are the expectations for our own classrooms as well. In the next few minutes, I will share what to avoid and what to include in your lessons on Dr. Martin Luther King. I'll recommend a few of my favorite books on the topic and reveal through data how as a nation we failed to realize his dream even 50 years later. After all, our schools are reaching levels of segregation not seen for over 3 decades. What to avoid in lessons about Dr. Martin Luther King. First of all, avoid presenting too many facts and not enough heart or context. It's not just about presenting facts that students need to know. It's about what they need to feel. Countless books written about him are filled with facts from his life without getting to the heart of why he was so impassioned to make these changes. Teaching about Martin Luther King often consists of spouting a few facts, showing the I Have a Dream speech, and assuming students knew the rest of the story when this is rarely, if ever, the case. Students must know more about the context while providing the time for students to process and discuss the issues that he worked to address. There are numerous pieces of content-rich literature that can help to provide this background, such as the book entitled Freedom Summer, which gives a deep lesson on friendship and segregation. I've written a literature unit on this book as well. The second issue is teaching a segregated history. Students must make the connection that Dr. Martin Luther King is a leader in African American history, as well as one of the most significant leaders in American and world history. Be careful not to include him and other African American leaders in a segregated history that is only shared in February. Third, and by far what bothers me the most, is instilling the misconception that racial segregation was eliminated by Dr. Martin Luther King after he gave the I Have a Dream speech. This is far from the truth, as such education measures such as school choice has essentially legalized segregating schools and students by race. According to the Netflix documentary Teach Us All, which I highly recommend, the percentage of minority students attending hypersegregated schools has nearly tripled since 1988. So what happened? When I was in elementary school in the 1980s, schools were at their highest points of integration, which coincided with the narrowest point in the academic achievement gap. So yes, research has proven that there is a positive correlation between student achievement and school integration. Dr. Martin Luther King warned us about the dangers of segregation and called for us to come together as one people. Yet, Jonathan Kozol uncovers in his book, The Shame of the Nation, that schools are resegregating at levels not seen for over 3 decades, that 3/4 of Black and Latino students attend schools that are predominantly minority, and over 2 million of these students attend schools termed as apartheid schools, where 99 to 100% of the students are non-white. Why do we segregate as a country? Many realize that school segregation is determined by the demographics of the neighborhood. Yet even when district lines are drawn, biases and assumptions come into play that alter school choice decisions. As parents and citizens, it's irresponsible to raise children in separated worlds, void of meeting children from other cultures and from other life experiences. After all, how will they be prepared to enter a diverse workforce and a global economy if they don't know about others? Research is showing that an individual's cultural competence and humility are essential competencies to be able to advance in today's world in any profession. Quite frankly, it's even ludicrous to even consider that a child can get a world-class education without diversity in their school. So as you contemplate your lesson and our current realities, please focus on instilling context and empathy, not sympathy or apathy. And be ready to present the uncomfortable feelings that one experiences when they are mistreated or excluded. When I wrote this literature and historical study unit on Martin Luther King, I chose to focus on two books with unique perspectives. I included this book, My Brother Martin, because it comes from the perspective of Dr. Martin Luther King's sister, which makes it more personal and accurate. Countless books written about him are filled with facts from his life without getting to the heart of why he was so impassioned to make these changes. This book includes the story of his traumatic childhood experience when he and his brother and sister would play with the white kids across the street until one day they were told they couldn't play together any longer because they were Negroes. This experience was a major catalyst for his lifetime of fighting for integration, racial harmony, and unity. I chose to also include the book Martin's Big Words because it shares context, represents the challenges that he faced, and connects these challenges with eloquent words. Martin's Big Words tells his story while weaving in wisdom, his wisdom, and his famous quotes in context. Take a moment to check out and download this unit from my Teachers Pay Teachers Novel Queen store. I've prepared this unit and others to save you time and engage your students in a deeper understanding of Dr. Martin Luther King and the ideals for which he lived. As you prepare your lessons on Dr. Martin Luther King and Black history, please remember that students need to internalize more than just facts. We teach history so students can learn from others' mistakes and evolve onward. We also teach history so that students may be inspired by the lives that others have lived. Here are 4 great lessons that students can learn from the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. First, he was a leader in tolerance. He acknowledged the value in diversity and affirmed the humanity of others through his cultural humility and desire for unity. We all have something to add to the group. Students should be open to learn from others. I would often remind my students that they were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth so that they would learn to listen twice as much as they speak. We all have our own names and identities, and when we come together and work together, we are stronger as a whole. Second, he demonstrated persistent integrity and grit. He proceeded with composure and grace. He advocated for others when others were crippled with fear. Even when times were tough, he never gave up, no matter the obstacles or the threat. Third, he was a courageous leader. Knowing that fear seldom results in success, he never gave up or gave in. And that part of being a strong leader is balancing confidence and self-respect with humility. He was not afraid to be on the ground level doing the important work with the people. Fourth, he was a proponent of service and helping others. A life lived only worrying about oneself or one's small nuclear family will be a life that is soon forgotten. Students need to internalize the value of thinking outside of themselves and helping others. This will result in more empowered individuals and stronger communities. Finally, Dr. Martin Luther King was a world-class communicator. As a writing teacher for many of my years, most of my years, it is of utmost importance that students understand the value of developing their writing and speaking voice. This will be the voice that they take out into the world, and their voices need to be heard. Good luck planning your units. And don't forget to save time by downloading this My Brother Martin and Martin's Big Words from my Teachers Pay Teachers store entitled Novel Queen.